this video, we're going to talk about the WordPress settings. Now, this is the second to last video in this series. The final video is going to show you the different steps that you should take every time you set up a WordPress website, or at least the steps that I take. Your situation may differ, but it's going to show you all the basic kind of setup. And one of those things is configuring the settings for your website. So if we go to our left-hand menu and we hover over settings, you can see all the different sections that settings are categorized into. So we have general, writing, reading, discussion, media, permalinks, and some of you, if you're hosting with Pantheon, will have a Pantheon page cache, but we're not going to go into that in this video. So if we click on general settings, we're going to see our basic settings for our website. Now, I'm not going to go through every setting in every section. You can do that on your own, and I'll also link to you documentation below this video that will describe each specific section in detail, or each specific setting in detail. But for this, I just want to kind of let you know where everything is, right? So for the general settings, this is all of our basic site information. You can see our site title, our tagline, which is like a slogan. There's the URLs of our website. We have our site email address, which is kind of the default email address for the website. We can also determine whether or not people should be able to register on our website. So if you don't want people to register, leave this unchecked. If you would like people to register, click this box, and that's going to open up on that login page a link for people to register a new account. And then we can select which role we would like them to be. Generally, as I mentioned in the previous video, that's going to be subscriber. Then we have some date and time information and some language settings that we can select, and this is all going to be determined by your area and your local time zones, etc. The writing settings have to do with when we're creating new posts. So we can create a default post category. So if we have categories for our posts, which category should they be put in by default if you don't select a different category? And the post format, which is, remember when I was talking about the different templates that blog entries can have, depending on what the center point of the entry is, which is determined by the themes, which ones are available. We're not really going to be using that, but it works kind of the same way here. If you wanted to pick a standard post format, this is where you would do it. Then we have our post via email section. I'm not going to go into that in this video, but I will put up an optional tutorial if that's something you're interested in doing, which would be writing an email to your website and it would automatically post a blog. I don't really recommend doing that because you want to really take advantage of the formatting options and stuff like that, but that is available if it's something you're interested in doing. The reading sections help us determine which page is going to act as our home page, and if we have a blog, which page is going to act as our blog page. Now, I'm going to cover that in the next video, so I'm not going to go into detail here, but I will show you how that's done in that final video. And then we just have some information about how many posts should be shown and how they should be shown and stuff like that, so you can check that out. Under the discussion settings, this has everything to do with comments in our website. When people can, if people can post comments, and if we do allow comments, what information is required for them to comment. And also we want to determine whether or not we're going to allow pingbacks. Now, what a pingback is if you have a blog and I have a blog and I reference or talk about one of your blog posts, I can do what's called a pingback, and in your comment section, it's going to show that I mentioned your post in my post. So it's a way for people that create similar types of content to kind of send traffic back and forth. Some people like it, some people don't, but in the discussion settings you can enable that and disable that as well. And there's also some settings for whether or not comments need to be moderated, or whether you want to get a notification when somebody comments, or whether a comment, when a comment is being held for moderation, if you want to be notified. And then some stuff with avatars. So this is, these settings under discussion are for comments and that kind of interaction between your users and your website, what's allowed and what's required, such as a name or email address in order for people to comment. Under our media settings, these are going to dictate what the default sizes, height and width, that our images are. So when we upload an image, remember we saw the thumbnail, when we were inserting our image, we could choose from thumbnail, medium, large, or original image. And that's where those sizes are dictated. Now, generally, you're never going to have to change the default settings under media settings, but if you did for whatever reason, this is where they are. And the last thing is permalinks. Now this has to do with what I was talking about when I was talking about slugs for pages and posts, so the part of the URL. And this has more to do with posts than anything else. So if you have a blog, how do you want that blog to be set up? Do we want it to be using page IDs? Definitely not. Do we want it to be using the day in the name? So it would show the year, the month, the day, and then the slug of the post itself. So sample post you can see here in the URL. Month and name, numeric, post name, custom structure. So what I'm going to recommend here, and this is really going to be kind of up to you. So if you're going to be doing a blog that should be dated in the sense that the date that they're in is relevant, then you can do something like day or name, and that's going to show the year, the month, and the day, and the name of the post. What I really recommend, though, is to just have it be category and post name. And you can see I put these in, so it's /% category, and then, sorry, a % at the end. And then the same thing with post name. And those percentages say, basically it's a string. I don't actually want it to have the word category. I want it to have whatever the category of the post is. And the reason I say /category /post name is after your blog post or your blog page URL, it's going to show the category first. So we're going to show them the category in the URL, and that's also going to help with SEO, and then the name of the post. So you've probably seen around the web, a lot of people actually use this date format. And the reason that I recommend against that really depends on the kind of content that you have. But the reason I recommend against it is, for example, the LattePress marketing website. Now I have a blog in there and I have a tremendous amount of information and tutorials. Now, if somebody is searching for a tutorial, they may say, how do I use forms on my WordPress website? And let's say they get one of my results in Google. They're also going to see the published date, or they're going to see that date in the URL, and they might see that that post was created last year, and they're going to say, well, that's outdated, I'm going to look for a newer one. What they don't know is that I go in and update all of those posts as I update the tutorials in the system. So those posts are actually always up to date. So I don't want to give people the wrong impression thinking that a 2-year-old article is no longer relevant when really I'm always updating them. And that's why I keep the dates and the published dates out of my URL and out of my slugs. I just have category and post name. You can also check out some SEO blogs around the internet. They're also going to recommend this setup as one of the best for SEO. So unless you really need that date information for some reason, I do recommend using that /category /post name URL. So if we just add that in, and you can do it, you have some available tags down here, so you can actually, if you just wanted to, instead of typing it in, you can click, /category /post name. It's going to automatically insert those, and then just click on Save Changes. And you can see now that I saved it, it's going to go ahead and save that. And what that's going to do for my pages, it's just going to use the name of the page. Obviously pages don't have categories, so it'll be my URL or mywebsite.com /mypagename for the slug. And for my posts, it's going to first separate them by category, and then it's going to separate them by page name. So I do recommend using this custom structure unless for whatever reason you need one of these other categories, and then click on Save Changes. You can also add in a category base and a tag base, and you can read more about what that is here in this description. But generally, that's it for the settings. I would recommend, when you're creating a new site, specifically in the next video, when you're going through this, just take a look at all of the available options and see what's there. There's a lot of configuration there, but it's all pretty straightforward. And if you have any questions, just go ahead and post in the LattePress forums, and I will try to answer them as soon as possible. So that's it for the visual tour of the WordPress dashboard. So check out the next and last video in this series, which is going to walk you through all of the initial steps that you'll take generally when we're creating a new website with WordPress. And that final video is the one where you can actually follow along on your own site.